Life can be mysterious at times, as if a higher power truly wants to demonstrate that everything that goes around, comes around. For better or for worse, today, we are going to tell the story of a man whose life was altered by a simple gesture. Every day after work, John would take the bus home. He worked in a factory, and some days were particularly grueling. He usually fell asleep on the way, and his co-workers would wake him up so he wouldn't miss his stop. But this time, he was alone and was about to end up at the final stop, resulting in a 30-minute walk back home. However, at that moment, a pleasant female voice said, "Hey, your stop is next. You're going to miss it." John opened his eyes and saw a beautiful woman next to him. "Thank you very much," he said. "But how do you know which stop is mine?" The woman smiled and said it wasn't the first time she had seen his co-workers wake him up. She lived 3 stops away from him, and apparently they both left work at similar times. John decided to stay on the bus and get off at the woman's stop while they talked. He discovered her name was Jessica, and they had a few things in common. The conversation was pleasant, and they decided to meet again the next day. The two started dating, and 8 months later John proposed to Jessica. She accepted. In love, they had a daughter a few years later named Sarah, who became the reason for their lives. The carefree childhood of the girl was disturbed because at a certain point her mother began to experience frequent symptoms of a lung disease. Jessica treated herself at home with medications that alleviated the symptoms, always postponing doctor's appointments, and this was the reason for arguments between the couple. John believed it was something simple but did not agree with Jessica's stance of not investigating further. In the end, she always convinced him with an optimistic view of her condition. If John knew where this would end, he would never have allowed Jessica to delay her appointments for so long. Some months later, the bill came. Jessica woke up feeling dizzy, but she preferred to believe it was nothing serious. She followed her morning routine normally, but 2 hours later her condition worsened and John called an ambulance. As soon as the ambulance arrived, John was reassured by the doctors who said she would be fine. Jessica went with the doctors in the ambulance and fell into a coma on the way to the hospital and was admitted directly to the ICU. On the way to the hospital, Sarah asked, "How is Mommy, Daddy? Is she going to be okay?" "Of course, she is, dear," John replied. But when they entered the hospital lobby, the nurse on duty did not let them proceed. A few minutes later, an old doctor called him, took John's hand, and said, "We're sorry, but your wife died shortly after being admitted. The condition was too advanced, her lungs were too affected, and there was nothing more we could do. Be strong." John didn't hear the doctor's last words. He left and cried in silence. Sarah came to his side. "Daddy, Daddy, why are you crying? Where's Mommy? Why did you lie to me and say she would be okay?" But John simply couldn't find the answers. After his wife's death, John did what he could to ensure a dignified life for Sarah. He worked overtime at the factory and gained the respect of his superiors. One day, on his way to work, a skinny, pale boy approached him and said, "Please, sir, I'm embarrassed to ask, but do you have any money to give me? I'm very hungry." John realized the boy was really embarrassed, which was not typical of a common beggar. The man then opened his wallet and noticed that he only had a few coins and a $20 bill. After thinking for a few seconds, he handed the note to the boy and also gave him the sandwiches that would be his lunch at the factory. "Take this, boy. I work in that factory over there. I'll figure it out. It won't be the first time. Thank you, sir. I'll pay you back," the boy said with tears in his eyes. John smiled at him and headed towards the factory. He had no idea that at that moment the boy made a promise to himself to find him and pay him back. John came home that night hungry, having only drunk water for lunch. The name of the boy who had asked for money was Bernardo, and his family situation was really difficult. His parents were alcoholics and didn't seem to care about him. 10 years passed as if they were days. John had been promoted because of his hard work and had bought a bike for Sarah. She spent the whole afternoon riding with her friends around the neighborhood, jumping ramps, skidding on the sidewalk, and one day, while racing in an alley, Sarah lost her balance and hit the curb hard. Her friends were scared when they realized that Sarah was responding but couldn't get up. Some people approached, called an ambulance, and called John, who rushed out of work. "What happened to my daughter?" John asked the doctor. "At the moment, her life is not in danger, but we have a problem. Unfortunately, the girl's spine is broken, and she probably won't be able to walk again." Noticing John's despair, he added, "Not all hope is lost. There are specialized hospitals in the capital with advanced treatments for nervous system injuries, but unfortunately, these operations are extremely expensive. Depending on the length of treatment, it can reach millions." "I have nowhere to get that money," John murmured. The doctor remained silent. A month later, Sarah was discharged. It was now up to her to learn how to move around well in a wheelchair and get accustomed to life as a person with a disability. Over the following years, John sacrificed any leisure options for himself while saving every bit of money left over after paying the bills. By this time, Sarah had become a beautiful woman. If it weren't for the wheelchair, she would have won several beauty contests. John fell into depression after failing in his attempt to raise funds for his daughter's treatment. He had simply lost faith. And when his hope had already run out, someone knocked on his door. When John opened the door, he saw a well-dressed man who appeared to be around 30 years old. "Hello, John. You probably don't recognize me," the stranger smiled. John agreed. The young man opened his wallet and there was only a $20 bill in it. He took out the bill and handed it to John. At that moment, John understood everything, looked the young man in the eye, and that ashamed look from 20 years ago had disappeared. Now the young man was there, 20 years older and radiating confidence. The young man asked if he could come in and said his name was Bernardo. At this moment, Sarah appeared in the living room in her wheelchair and smiled sweetly to greet the visitor. Bernardo was embarrassed and his face turned red on the spot, but he composed himself and asked how John was doing. The man had not forgotten how John had treated him 20 years ago, and now, after making a name for himself as a successful businessman, he decided to look for him. During this time, Bernardo had lived in the capital and only returned to the small town to fulfill a promise he had made in the past, the promise to pay the debt. He remembered that John worked at the factory and was able to get the address he needed. What he didn't expect was to find a man with serious problems and a daughter with a disability. When Bernardo heard about Sarah's physical condition and the possible solutions, he thought for a moment and said, "John, you may not know this, but many years ago, you saved me. At that time, $20 was as important to me as $200,000 or $2 million now. That's why I'm going to reimburse you proportionally and cover all the costs of Sarah's treatment." The room fell silent. John seemed incredulous. Sarah approached and hugged Bernardo. Tears welled up in the young businessman's eyes as he remembered that at 9 years old, he was asking for money from the man he could now help. 3 weeks later, after a successful surgery, Sarah took her first steps on her own. During that important event, John held her by one hand and Bernardo by the other. Bernardo fell in love with Sarah and plans to ask for her hand in marriage soon. Tears of joy ran down John's face for the first time in years, and according to him, they were much more welcome than those of sadness and longing. If you have been touched by this story in any way, please kindly show your support by subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and sharing it with others who may also be touched. I believe you will also enjoy another story that is appearing on the screen. See you later. Anna's heart was heavy as she stood before her grandfather Joachim's grave, tears streaming down her face. He had been her rock, her mentor, and her best friend throughout her life. Now that he was gone, she felt lost and uncertain about the future. The wind whispered softly through the trees, carrying with it the memories of the time they spent together and the wise lessons he had imparted to her. As Anna wiped away her tears, she clutched the deed to her grandfather's old mechanic workshop, the rusty Joachim, which he had left her in his will. People in the town had scoffed and belittled her inheritance, but Anna knew that it was more than just a rundown workshop. It was the last connection to her beloved grandfather. Determined to honor Joachim's memory, Anna decided to turn the workshop into a thriving business. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she refused to give in to the naysayers. With fire in her eyes, she shared her decision with her best friend Carla, who promised to stand by her side through thick and thin. Together, they began the arduous process of learning about mechanics and engineering, fueled by a burning desire to bring new life to the old workshop. As they toiled through long nights and faced countless setbacks, the bond between Anna and Carla grew even stronger. They drew strength from each other and their shared love for Joachim, vowing to never give up, no matter how tough the journey might become. Slowly but surely, the rusty Joachim began to transform. The once dilapidated workshop became a place of hope and determination, where dreams were forged and the spirit of Joachim lived on. As Anna and Carla delved deeper into the world of mechanics, they discovered the remnants of an unfinished project that Joachim had been working on, a revolutionary, eco-friendly engine. The thought of completing her grandfather's life work filled Anna's heart with purpose and resolve. On a stormy evening, while poring over Joachim's notes and sketches, Anna felt a sudden surge of inspiration. It was as if her grandfather's spirit was guiding her, urging her to push the boundaries and fulfill his dream. With Carla by her side, they began to unravel the mysteries of the engine, each new discovery bringing them closer to completing Joachim's legacy. Their hard work and perseverance finally paid off when Anna and Carla made a groundbreaking discovery. They found the key to unlocking the engine's full potential, a unique, sustainable material that would revolutionize the automotive industry. Excited and filled with renewed determination, they shared their findings with Dr. Augusto Mendez, a renowned engineer who had become a mentor and friend in their journey. Dr. Augusto was amazed by their ingenuity and the potential of the eco-friendly engine. He knew that they were on the cusp of changing the world, and together, they worked tirelessly to refine and perfect the design. In doing so, they not only honored Joachim's memory but also created a powerful symbol of hope for a cleaner, more sustainable future. With the eco-friendly engine completed, news of their incredible achievement spread like wildfire. Anna was invited to showcase her invention at a prestigious international conference, where she received a standing ovation from the crowd. As she stood on the stage, overwhelmed with emotion, she knew that her grandfather's spirit was with her, beaming with pride. The rusty Joachim workshop was transformed into a thriving business, and Anna became a role model for aspiring entrepreneurs and inventors. She used her success to establish a foundation to help cancer patients and fund research for a cure, ensuring that Joachim's legacy would continue to inspire and bring hope to countless lives. Through love, determination, and unwavering resolve, Anna had overcome adversity and fulfilled her grandfather's dream. And in doing so, she discovered her own purpose, to carry on Joachim's values, to never give up, and to make a lasting, positive impact on the world.
Dylan Trump, a devoted police officer and loving father. His life goes on with tranquility and success in his career, sharing happy moments with his son Lucas. However, fate has other plans for this duo, when an ordinary night at work turns into an unimaginable nightmare. The rain poured heavily on that cold night as police officer Dylan Trump and his partner, Anna, responded to a reported robbery at a local convenience store. The streets glistened with the reflection of the streetlights, creating an eerie atmosphere as they pulled up to the scene. As they entered the store, Dylan's heart pounded in his chest, his breaths coming in short, sharp gasps. The place was in disarray, with shelves knocked over and products scattered across the floor. They quickly apprehended the suspects, and Dylan's world came to a screeching halt when he recognized his own son, Lucas, among them. "Dad, Lucas stammered, his voice barely a whisper as he looked away, shame written across his face. Dylan's heart ached as he stared at his son, a mix of disbelief and anger brewing inside him. "Lucas, what have you done?" he asked, his voice trembling. Determined to uncover the truth, Dylan and Anna embarked on a journey to learn more about Lucas's involvement in the robbery. They interviewed his friends, teachers, and others close to him, but no one seemed to know anything. One rainy afternoon, they visited Lucas's best friend, Josh. As they sat in the small living room, Dylan couldn't help but notice the tension in the air. "Josh, please, if you know anything, you have to tell us," Dylan pleaded, desperation clear in his eyes. Josh hesitated for a moment before finally relenting. "I don't know much, but I heard Lucas talking to someone on the phone a few days ago. He seemed scared." The revelation sent a shiver down Dylan's spine. What could have driven his son to such lengths? They thanked Josh for his help and left, more determined than ever to uncover the truth. As the investigation continued, it seemed as if they were chasing shadows, but Dylan refused to give up, and every sleepless night only fueled his desire to save his son from whatever was haunting him. Little did Dylan know that the truth would be far more shocking than he could ever imagine, and it would forever change the lives of everyone involved. Days turned into weeks, and Dylan became increasingly obsessed with finding answers. He spent countless hours poring over every detail, searching for the smallest clue that might lead him to the truth. Anna grew worried for her partner, but she knew how much this meant to him and continued to provide unwavering support. One evening, after another fruitless day of investigating, Dylan decided to search Lucas's room for any possible leads. As he sifted through his son's belongings, he stumbled upon a hidden diary. With a heavy heart, he began to read the pages, hoping to gain some insight into what had happened. The diary revealed that Lucas had been struggling in school, facing constant pressure to fit in and succeed. But the most shocking revelation came in the form of a mysterious individual who had been blackmailing Lucas, threatening to expose his secrets and ruin his life. Lucas had been forced to participate in the robbery as part of a larger plan orchestrated by this unknown person. Dylan's hands trembled as he clutched the diary, tears streaming down his face. How could he not have seen the signs? How had he failed his son so profoundly? With renewed determination, Dylan and Anna set out to identify and track down the person responsible for Lucas's plight. They followed leads, pieced together evidence, and pursued the blackmailer through a maze of deception and intrigue. As the days went on, the emotional toll of the investigation weighed heavily on Dylan. The image of Lucas's frightened eyes haunted him, a constant reminder of the urgency of their mission. After weeks of relentless pursuit, Dylan and Anna finally managed to identify the blackmailer, a man named Victor, who held a grudge against Dylan for a past arrest. They tracked him down to a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of the city, their hearts pounding in anticipation of the confrontation that awaited them. As they stealthily entered the warehouse, the air was thick with tension. The sound of their footsteps echoed through the empty space, and every creak and groan of the building's structure sent shivers down their spines. They moved cautiously, aware that the slightest misstep could alert Victor to their presence. Suddenly, they found themselves face to face with the man who had tormented Lucas and destroyed their lives. Victor sneered at Dylan, his eyes cold and menacing. "You think you've won?" he taunted. "Your precious son is already ruined. There's nothing you can do to save him." Dylan's blood boiled with rage, but he forced himself to remain calm. With steely determination, he replied, "You're wrong, Victor. I will do everything in my power to protect my son, and I will make sure you never hurt anyone again." A tense standoff ensued, but ultimately, Dylan and Anna managed to subdue and arrest Victor. With the blackmailer finally in custody, they returned to Lucas, who had been anxiously waiting for news. As they embraced, Dylan whispered to his son, "It's over, Lucas. You're safe now. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner, but I promise I'll be there for you from now on." In the aftermath of the ordeal, Dylan and Lucas worked tirelessly to rebuild their relationship and overcome the challenges they faced. The experience brought them closer than ever, forging an unbreakable bond between father and son. Dylan became a more present and understanding father, making sure to always listen and offer support when Lucas needed it. Did you like this story? Comment below what you think and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. Mary Campbell, a 76-year-old woman, lived on the streets of the small town of Punta Gorda. Dressed in tattered clothes and walking with difficulty, Mary was known to everyone in town as a beggar. The townspeople saw her as a fragile and undesirable figure, which deeply affected her self-esteem and self-image. However, Mary maintained a gentle and hopeful spirit, despite the hardships she faced. One day, as Mary rummaged through a trash can for food, she found an envelope with her name handwritten on it. Intrigued, she opened the envelope and read the anonymous invitation to a dinner at Punta Gorda's most prestigious restaurant. With a mix of curiosity and hesitation, Mary decided to attend the dinner, knowing that her appearance would not be welcome in such a refined setting. As she entered the restaurant, all eyes turned to her. The manager, a middle-aged man named Roberto, approached her quickly and tried to expel her from the place, claiming that her presence was affecting the establishment's reputation. Before Mary could react, a well-dressed and imposing man intervened. He was Thomas, the son she never knew she had, and also the owner of the restaurant. Thomas revealed that he had grown up as an orphan in a foster home and, after years of searching, finally managed to find his biological mother. The anonymous invitation was a way he found to get closer to Mary and meet her personally. With tears in their eyes, Mary and Thomas embraced, moved by the unexpected reunion. As the restaurant's patrons watched, perplexed and touched by the scene, Roberto realized that he had judged Mary prematurely and felt remorse for his actions. That moment was just the beginning of a journey of overcoming and redemption for everyone involved, in which Mary and her son Thomas would face the challenges of the past and present, learning valuable lessons about forgiveness, love, and the true meaning of family. Following the emotional reunion at the restaurant, Thomas invited Mary to live with him in his luxurious home. Although hesitant, Mary accepted the offer, knowing that it was an opportunity for a better life. Over the following weeks, Mary and Thomas spent hours talking, sharing stories of their lives and revealing long-kept secrets. Mary told Thomas about her youth, the moment she gave him up for adoption, and the circumstances that led her to live on the streets. Thomas, in turn, shared his journey as an orphan, the success he achieved as a businessman, and the emptiness he felt in his heart due to the absence of a family. As Mary and Thomas strengthened their bond, the story of their reunion began to spread throughout Punta Gorda. Gradually, the townspeople started to see Mary in a different light, recognizing her strength and resilience, and realizing they had misjudged the woman who had been ignored and despised for so long. Mary, for her part, began sharing her experiences and wisdom with the community. She told stories of overcoming adversity and demonstrated the importance of valuing people for who they are, regardless of their social status. The once indifferent town began to come together and transform, with residents supporting one another and striving for a better life for all. Thomas, inspired by his mother's courage and wisdom, started using his influence and wealth to promote significant changes in Punta Gorda. He invested in building shelters and social assistance programs to help those in need and encouraged other entrepreneurs in town to do the same. Mary and Thomas's story became an example of love, overcoming, and inspiration for everyone in Punta Gorda. Together, mother and son showed the community that it is possible to turn adversities into opportunities for growth and that forgiveness and compassion are essential for healing past wounds and building a better future. Reconciliation with the past. Over time, Mary realized that there were still unresolved issues in her past. She decided to seek forgiveness and reconciliation with those she had hurt or disappointed throughout her life. Thomas, always by her side, offered support and encouragement at every step of this journey. Mary reconnected with old friends and family, apologizing and taking responsibility for the mistakes she had made in the past. In many cases, these reunions brought to light long-buried stories and emotions, providing an opportunity for healing and renewal for everyone involved. Inspired by Mary and Thomas's determination, the residents of Punta Gorda began to actively engage in building a more just and inclusive town. Volunteer groups emerged, dedicated to helping those in need, organizing charity events, and raising funds for social projects. The town transformed into an example of solidarity and cooperation, with people working together to overcome challenges and face adversity. Bonds between residents strengthened, and Punta Gorda began to gain prominence throughout the region for its incredible story of overcoming and rebirth. Impressed by Mary's strength and courage, the mayor of Punta Gorda decided to honor her, recognizing her as an example of resilience and inspiration for the town. In an emotional ceremony, Mary received a commemorative plaque and a copy of a decree that established a day in her honor. During her speech, Mary shared words of gratitude and encouragement, emphasizing the importance of never giving up and always striving for the best for oneself and others. The ceremony ended with a standing ovation from everyone present, acknowledging Mary's role in transforming the town. As time passed, Mary and Thomas continued to work together to improve the lives of people in Punta Gorda. They became symbols of hope and perseverance, inspiring others to follow in their footsteps and believe in their own abilities to overcome. The town, which had once been marked by prejudice and indifference, became an example of progress and solidarity. Thanks to Mary and Thomas's determination and the strength of the community, Punta Gorda transformed into a place where each person, regardless of their background or situation, could have the chance to reach their potential and live a full and happy life. And so, the story of Mary Campbell and her son Thomas left a lasting legacy in Punta Gorda and in the hearts of all who learned the importance of love, forgiveness, and overcoming. Did you like this story? Comment below what you think and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. Emily Johnson woke up to the sound of the alarm clock and, for a few seconds, watched the small slits of light coming through the window. The fresh morning breeze swayed the curtains and announced the start of another day. She got up and walked over to the mirror, fixing her brown hair and staring at her reflection. The 25-year-old face already showed signs of fatigue, the result of a life full of challenges and obstacles. Emily lived in a small house on the outskirts of an American town, sharing the space with her mother, Susan, and her younger brother, Mike. Her life had not been easy. Her father had abandoned the family when she was still a child, leaving her mother burdened with the responsibility of caring for Emily and Mike alone. To help with the household expenses, Emily started working at a very young age, always striving to balance her personal and professional responsibilities. She currently worked as a clerk at a local market called Bargain Mart, where she spent long hours standing, dealing with a variety of customers, and trying to keep a smile on her face, even in the most difficult moments. After getting ready and having a quick breakfast with her mother and brother, Emily grabbed her bike and left the house, pedaling towards work. The day was sunny, and the morning breeze brought a fresh scent of flowers and freshly cut grass. During her commute, she thought about the people she would meet at work, her co-workers, the customers, and of course, the manager, Mr. Thompson, a stern man who was difficult to please. Upon arriving at the market, Emily was greeted by her co-workers. Among them were Carol, a middle-aged woman with a friendly and encouraging smile, and Tom, an enthusiastic young man who was always ready to help. Emily liked working with them and felt that, in some way, they were like a second family. The day at the market started busy, with a line of customers waiting to be served. Emily worked at the cash register, scanning products and chatting with customers, always with a smile on her face. She was able to connect with people, showing empathy and understanding for their needs and concerns. On that day, among the regular customers, an elderly lady caught her attention. She was having trouble carrying her groceries and seemed a bit lost. Emily approached, offering help. The lady thanked her, and the two chatted for a few minutes while Emily helped her pick some items and led her to the cash register. During their conversation, Emily discovered that the elderly woman, named Donna Maria, was going through financial difficulties. A widow with no children, she lived off a living on a very modest pension. Donna Maria could barely afford her basic needs. When she saw the total cost of her groceries at the cash register, she realized she didn't have enough money to pay for everything. With a flushed face and tears in her eyes, she began to return some of the items. Emily, moved by the situation, made a courageous decision. Without hesitation, she paid the difference, ensuring that Donna Maria could take all the products she needed. The elderly woman, touched, thanked Emily and promised to return the kindness as soon as she could. However, Emily's act of kindness did not go unnoticed. The manager, Mr. Thompson, watched the scene from afar and, as soon as Donna Maria left the market, called Emily into his office. With a serious expression and a sharp voice, he scolded her for her actions, claiming she had hurt the store's profits and violated company rules. Emily tried to defend herself, explaining Donna Maria's delicate situation and the reason for her gesture. However, the manager remained unmoved. Instead, he humiliated her in front of all the employees, firing her on the spot. The young clerk left the room in tears, feeling mistreated and humiliated. Her co-workers, shocked by what had happened, tried to console her, but Emily simply grabbed her things and left the market with a heavy heart. A few hours passed, and Emily was at home, still trying to understand what had happened. She couldn't believe she had been fired for an act of solidarity. Her mother and brother tried to cheer her up, saying she would find a new job soon and that everything would be all right. That's when the doorbell rang. As Emily opened the door, she was surprised to see Donna Maria accompanied by an elegant and well-dressed gentleman. He introduced himself as George Hamilton, the owner of Bargain Mart. Donna Maria had told him about Emily's act of kindness and how she had been unjustly fired. George, touched by the story, personally came to Emily's house to offer her job back, with a raise and an apology. Emily, moved, accepted the offer and thanked Donna Maria and Mr. Hamilton. That moment marked the beginning of a new stage in her life, where justice and compassion prevailed. And, although she still faced many challenges ahead, Emily knew she had learned a valuable lesson: kindness and empathy can indeed transform lives and touch hearts. With her job restored and a raise in salary, Emily felt a new energy flowing through her. From that moment on, she dedicated herself even more to her work, seeking to make a difference in the lives of people who frequented Bargain Mart. Her contagious smile and empathetic attitude quickly turned her into one of the market's most beloved employees. Meanwhile, George Hamilton had made an important decision. He would implement a series of changes at Bargain Mart to make the company more socially conscious. Inspired by Emily's act of kindness, he created a program to assist needy customers, in which employees could discreetly help those who were facing financial hardships. News of the changes at the market and Emily's story quickly spread throughout the town, attracting even more customers and generating a wave of solidarity. Employees felt motivated to participate in the program and contributed ideas and actions to make Bargain Mart a place where people felt welcomed and supported. Emily, for her part, continued to excel in her work. Her relationship with Donna Maria grew stronger, and the two became inseparable friends. Together, they organized charity events and food drives to help those in need in the community. However, not everything was perfect. The former manager, Mr. Thompson, had not given up on his revenge against Emily. He had been demoted after the incident and now worked as an assistant manager under the direct supervision of George Hamilton. Resentful and bitter, he constantly sought opportunities to sabotage Emily's work and harm her. One day, as Emily was restocking the shelves, Mr. Thompson sneaked up and knocked over a bag of flour, scattering it everywhere. He then called George Hamilton and accused Emily of negligence. The young attendant, grabbing a broom and dustpan to clean up the mess, explained that she hadn't knocked over the flour, but Mr. Thompson didn't listen. George Hamilton, however, knew Mr. Thompson's character well and decided to investigate the situation before taking any action. He reviewed the security cameras and discovered the truth about the incident. The owner of Bargain Mart scolded Mr. Thompson for his petty behavior and fired him for his inappropriate conduct. Emily, grateful for George Hamilton's intervention, continued to work hard and with dedication. She knew that justice didn't always prevail, but she was determined to do her part to make the world a better place, one act of kindness at a time. With Mr. Thompson's dismissal, the work environment at Bargain Mart became even more pleasant and harmonious. The employees felt supported and encouraged by George Hamilton, and the team was more united than ever. Together, they worked tirelessly to ensure that the company became a model of social responsibility and sustainability. Emily's story and the positive changes at Bargain Mart inspired the local community. People from all walks of life began to engage in philanthropic activities and support social causes. The town, once marked by indifference and isolation, transformed into a place where neighbors came together to help one another. A group of volunteers, led by Emily and Donna Maria, was formed to organize charity events such as bazaars, pet adoption fairs, and fundraising campaigns for local charities. Additionally, the Bargain Mart Assistance Program for needy customers continued to grow, with more and more employees and customers participating. One day, while Emily was working at the checkout, a young mother approached with her small child. The woman seemed tired and worried, and her shopping cart was filled with basic food and hygiene items. As Emily began scanning the products, she noticed that the mother didn't have enough money to pay for everything. Remembering her encounter with the elderly woman and the assistance program, Emily decided to help the woman. With a gentle smile, she explained the program and discounted the necessary amount so that the mother could take all the items. The woman, moved, thanked Emily and promised to pay the kindness forward to someone in need. Emily's action reverberated throughout the community, reinforcing the idea that a simple act of kindness can have a huge impact on someone else's life. The town became an example of solidarity, and stories of compassion and generosity spread, inspiring others to do the same. Meanwhile, Emily continued to be a driving force behind the positive changes at Bargain Mart and in the community. However, she was unaware that her life was about to change in an unexpected and profound way. Bargain Mart continued to thrive under George Hamilton's leadership, and the company's reputation in the community grew more and more. Emily's generosity and kindness became legendary, and her story even inspired people from other towns to practice acts of kindness and solidarity. One day, Emily received a mysterious letter with no return address. Curious, she opened the envelope and found a handwritten message inviting her to a charity event in a neighboring town. The event would honor individuals who had made significant contributions to their communities, and Emily was one of the honorees. Surprised and touched, Emily accepted the invitation and, accompanied by Donna Maria and other Bargain Mart colleagues, headed to the neighboring town to attend the event. Upon arriving, they were warmly welcomed and thanked by the organizers and other honorees. During the ceremony, Emily received an award for her generosity and commitment to the community. She felt honored and grateful, but also humble, as she knew that many other people deserved recognition for their acts of kindness. After the ceremony, Emily and her colleagues were invited to a gala dinner. During the dinner, an elderly woman approached Emily, holding a gift box. The woman introduced herself as Agnes, the daughter of the elderly man Emily had helped at the market. Agnes explained that her father had recently passed away, but before he died, he had expressed his wish to thank Emily for her kindness and compassion. He had left the box as a gift for her, and Agnes was honored to deliver it on his behalf. With tears in her eyes, Emily accepted the gift and thanked Agnes and her late father. When she opened the box, she discovered a key and a letter. The key opened a small house in the neighboring town, and the letter explained that the elderly man had left the house to Emily as a token of gratitude for her kind heart. Moved and surprised, Emily realized that her life had changed in ways she could never have imagined. Her journey of resilience and generosity had touched countless lives, and she was determined to continue making a difference in the lives of others, inspiring them to practice kindness and compassion. With the newly acquired house, Emily began to consider the possibilities life had to offer her. She decided that, in addition to continuing her work at Bargain Mart, she wanted to do something even more meaningful to help her community. Talking with Donna Maria and other colleagues, Emily came up with the idea of turning the house into a community center. The place would be a space where people could meet, learn, share, and grow together. They would offer classes, workshops, and activities for children and adults, aiming to strengthen community bonds and promote education and cooperation. With the support of George Hamilton and her colleagues, Emily began working on the project. They joined together, raised funds, and the local community also got involved, offering donations and volunteer help to make the community center a reality. After months of hard work, the Emily Johnson Community Center was inaugurated in a warm and emotional ceremony. The once empty house was now filled with life, hope, and love. The center quickly became a gathering point for the community, attracting people of all ages and backgrounds. Over time, Emily realized that her act of kindness at the market had set off a chain of positive and transformative events, not only in her own life but in the lives of everyone around her. She began to understand the true power of love, compassion, and generosity, and was determined to continue spreading this message throughout the world. The Emily Johnson Community Center thrived and became an example for other communities. Emily, Donna Maria, George, and everyone involved in the project realized that, together, they could make a difference and build a better world, one act of kindness at a time. Meanwhile, Emily's story continued to spread, inspiring countless other people to believe in the power of love and generosity. And, in each heart touched by her journey, a new seed of hope and resilience was planted, creating a kinder and more compassionate world for all. Years passed since the inauguration of the Emily Johnson Community Center, and the place continued to thrive as a symbol of hope and unity in the community. Emily became a respected and admired leader by all, always seeking ways to expand and improve the center's work. Donna Maria, who had become a mother figure to Emily, continued to work by her side, helping to develop new programs and initiatives for the center. George Hamilton, despite being busy managing his chain of markets, was always present, supporting and collaborating with Emily in the community. Emily's story reached the ears of other community leaders and philanthropic organizations, who began visiting the center to learn more about its work and impact. People came from far and wide to meet Emily, and many were inspired to take the community center's philosophy back to their own communities. Emily, who once felt trapped and without prospects, now saw herself as an agent of change and hope. She became a motivational speaker, sharing her story and her message of love, compassion, and generosity in schools, businesses, and events across the country. At one of these events, Emily had the opportunity to reunite with the elderly man who had changed her life. He, now with fragile health, was accompanied by his children and grandchildren, and was moved to see what his simple presence had triggered in Emily's life and that of so many others. Together, they celebrated the beauty and power of a single act of kindness and how it can change the world. Throughout her journey, Emily Johnson touched the lives of thousands of people and left a legacy of love and compassion that continued to inspire generations. And, even when life took her down unexpected and challenging paths, she never forgot the lessons she had learned, that we all have the power to transform the lives of others and that, together, we can create a kinder and more loving world. Did you like this story? Comment below what you think and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. Emma Brown had just given birth and, in a shocking act, was seen running out of the maternity ward without her newborn baby in her arms. The staff at the facility were stunned by the scene, unable to comprehend how someone could carry a baby for 9 months, go through a normal birth, and then abandon the child at that very moment. Although no one in the maternity ward dared to stop her, a nurse made a bold and unexpected decision that surprised everyone. But before the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and let us know in the comments what you thought of the video. Emma Brown had always been a resilient person. Born and raised in a humble neighborhood, her family faced financial hardships, which taught her the importance of hard work and dedication from an early age. Emma was a cheerful and optimistic young woman, even in the face of adversity, and this helped her gain friends and admirers wherever she went. Her parents, however, were not the best examples of love and support. Emma's mother, Marissa, was a bitter and rigid woman, while her father, Roberto, drank to forget his problems and sometimes took his anger out on the family. Emma grew up craving affection and understanding, which led her to seek such connections outside her home. At 21, Emma met Gabriel, an older, charming man who promised her the world. He treated her like a princess, and Emma fell head over heels in love. Unfortunately, things began to change as soon as they discovered she was pregnant. Gabriel turned out to be a cold and distant person, and the rejection of her family only made the situation worse. Emma felt alone and desperate, unsure of what to do. During her pregnancy, Emma worked at a diner to support herself and her unborn child. The routine was exhausting, and she faced constant judgmental stares from customers and coworkers. The pressure and loneliness began to affect her mental and emotional health, and she felt on the verge of a breakdown. On a cloudy autumn morning, Emma woke up with strong and painful contractions. She knew the time had come and, despite her fear and uncertainty, faced the situation with courage and determination. Alone and without support, Emma went to the maternity ward, where she gave birth to a healthy baby boy, whom she named Samuel. However, the reality of being a single mother and the hardships she would have to face seemed insurmountable. Emma looked at Samuel's innocent little face and felt a deep, unconditional love, but also overwhelming anguish. She believed that if she stayed with the baby, she would ruin both his life and her own. In an act of desperation, Emma made a decision that would change her life forever. In the dead of night, with a heavy heart and tears streaming down her face, Emma left the maternity ward, leaving Samuel behind in the hope that someone else could give him a better life. The hospital staff was dumbfounded, unable to understand how someone could do such a thing. No one dared to stop her, but a nurse named Laura, who witnessed the scene, made a surprising and courageous decision. Laura Thompson had been a nurse at the maternity ward for over a decade. She had witnessed countless births and farewells, but she had never seen anything like what Emma had done. As she stood in the hallway, watching Emma flee, Laura's heart ached for both the young mother and her abandoned child. With a mixture of disbelief and determination, Laura rushed to the nursery where baby Samuel was now alone. Picking him up and cradling him in her arms, she made a promise to herself and to the child. "I will make sure you are safe and loved, little one. You deserve a chance at a good life," she whispered to the sleeping baby. Laura knew she couldn't raise Samuel on her own, as she already had a full plate with her job and her own family. However, she was determined to find a loving home for him. She began making phone calls, reaching out to friends, acquaintances, and even local adoption agencies, hoping to find a suitable family for Samuel. Meanwhile, Emma found herself wandering the streets, her heart heavy with guilt and sorrow. In a small park, she sat on a bench, tears streaming down her face. A kind stranger, an elderly woman named Mary, noticed her distress and sat down beside her. "Dear, what's the matter?" Mary asked gently. Emma hesitated for a moment, unsure of whether to share her story with a stranger. But something in Mary's eyes told her that she could trust her. Taking a deep breath, Emma recounted the events that had led her to abandon Samuel. Mary listened intently, her eyes filled with empathy. When Emma finished speaking, she reached for her hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. "You made an incredibly difficult decision, my dear," Mary said softly. "But I believe everything happens for a reason. Maybe this was meant to happen so that Samuel could find a better life, and you could find your own path to healing and growth." Back at the hospital, Laura's tireless efforts finally paid off. A kind and loving couple, Thomas and Elizabeth, who had been trying to adopt a child for years, heard about Samuel's situation and eagerly agreed to meet him. When they laid eyes on the baby, it was love at first sight. As Thomas held Samuel in his arms, he looked at his wife, Elizabeth, and said, "We've been waiting for this moment for so long. I can't believe he's finally here with us." Elizabeth, with tears in her eyes, replied, "I know, it feels like a dream. We will give him all the love and care he deserves, and we'll make sure he has the best life possible." Laura, standing nearby, couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. She knew that she had played a significant role in shaping Samuel's destiny, and she was grateful to have been a part of this story. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would eventually bring Emma and Samuel back together in the most unexpected way. Despite Mary's comforting words, Emma couldn't shake the guilt that weighed heavily on her conscience. She knew she had made a heart-wrenching decision, but she also understood that she needed to find a way to forgive herself and move forward. As the days turned into weeks, Emma decided to channel her energy into something positive. She volunteered at a local community center, helping others who were facing their own struggles. One day, while organizing a support group for single parents, Emma met a woman named Sophia. Sophia had a young daughter and shared her own story of hardship and resilience. The two women formed a bond, and it wasn't long before they became close friends. Through their friendship, Emma learned valuable lessons about self-compassion and the power of community support. Sophia noticed the pain that still haunted Emma's eyes and encouraged her to seek professional help. Reluctantly, Emma agreed and began attending therapy sessions, where she slowly started to unpack the emotions surrounding her decision to leave Samuel. Months passed, and Emma continued her journey towards healing and self-forgiveness. She became more involved in the community center, eventually securing a full-time job as a social worker. With each passing day, she became more determined to make a difference in the lives of others, inspired by the memory of her son. Meanwhile, Samuel was growing up in a loving and nurturing environment. Thomas and Elizabeth provided him with everything he needed, showering him with affection and ensuring he had the best possible education. They also made sure Samuel knew about his birth mother, Emma, and the difficult decision she had made. They explained that her choice had been made out of love and the desire for him to have a better life. As the years went by, Samuel developed into a bright, compassionate, and curious young boy. He often wondered about his birth mother, and sometimes he even dreamed about what it would be like to meet her. Little did he know that fate was about to intervene, bringing his past and present together in an extraordinary way. One sunny afternoon, while walking home from school, Samuel stumbled upon a flyer for a community event organized by the very center where Emma now worked. Intrigued by the prospect of meeting new people and learning about different programs, he decided to attend. At the event, Emma was busy coordinating various activities and talking to attendees. As she made her way through the crowd, her gaze fell upon a young boy who looked strikingly familiar. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Emma felt a sudden, inexplicable connection. As the boy approached her, Emma's heart began to race. She could hardly believe what was happening, but deep down, she knew that this encounter was no coincidence. This was the moment she had been longing for ever since that fateful night at the hospital, and it was finally time to face her past and embrace the possibility of a brighter future. Emma couldn't help but stare at the young boy who stood before her, his bright eyes filled with curiosity and warmth. She gathered her courage and introduced herself, trying to hide the overwhelming emotions that threatened to surface. "Hi, my name is Emma," she said with a shaky voice. "I work here at the community center. What's your name?" "Samuel," the boy replied with a friendly smile. "I saw the flyer for this event and thought it would be fun to check it out." Emma's heart skipped a beat as she processed the significance of this encounter. Although she had never met her son face to face, there was no denying the strong resemblance between them. She took a deep breath and continued the conversation, hoping to learn more about Samuel's life. As they chatted, Emma discovered that Samuel was being raised by Thomas and Elizabeth, a loving couple who had always been honest with him about his adoption. Samuel expressed his gratitude for the life they had given him, but he also shared his desire to learn more about his birth mother. Emma listened intently, her heart swelling with pride and sorrow. She couldn't help but feel a sense of loss for the years they had spent apart, but she also knew that this moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Feeling a mixture of fear and excitement, Emma decided it was time to reveal the truth. She looked into Samuel's eyes and said, "Samuel, I have something important to tell you. I'm your birth mother." Samuel stared at her in disbelief, his eyes welling up with tears. He had always wondered about his birth mother and what she might be like, but he never imagined he would meet her like this. As the reality of the situation sank in, Samuel embraced Emma, and the two shared a tender, emotional moment. Over the coming weeks, Emma and Samuel spent time getting to know each other, sharing stories and forging a deep bond. With the support of Thomas and Elizabeth, they navigated the complexities of their newfound relationship, cherishing every moment together. As Emma's relationship with Samuel grew stronger, so did her sense of self-worth and forgiveness. She realized that, despite the pain and challenges she had faced, her journey had led her to a place of healing and redemption. As the years went by, Emma and Samuel continued to build a strong and loving relationship, Emma became an integral part of Samuel's life, attending school events, celebrating birthdays, and offering guidance and support as he navigated his teenage years. Samuel, now a young adult, had become a passionate advocate for mental health awareness, inspired by his birth mother's story of resilience and determination. Together, they often volunteered at the community center, giving back to the place that had played such a crucial role in their reunion. Emma's life had come full circle, and she found herself feeling more fulfilled and content than she could have ever imagined. She had faced her past, reconciled with her son, and discovered her true purpose in life. Through it all, she had learned the power of forgiveness, the importance of community, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. As she stood on the stage of the community center, delivering a speech about her journey and the lessons she had learned, Emma couldn't help but feel grateful for the path that had led her here. With Samuel and their extended family proudly watching from the audience, she knew that, despite the challenges and heartache, she had finally found her way home. Chapter 6: Embracing the Future. Emma and Samuel's story became an inspiration to their community and beyond. As word spread about their incredible journey, they were invited to share their experiences at conferences, schools, and support groups. Their message of hope, resilience, and the power of forgiveness resonated with people from all walks of life, inspiring others to face their own challenges with courage and determination. During this time, Emma reconnected with Laura, the nurse who had made the fateful decision to adopt Samuel all those years ago. The two women formed a close friendship, bonding over their shared love for Samuel and their commitment to helping others. With the support of Laura and Samuel, Emma decided to pursue a career in social work, specializing in helping young mothers facing similar challenges as she had. Emma's first-hand experience and empathetic nature made her an invaluable resource to those in need, allowing her to make a profound impact on countless lives. Samuel, inspired by his mother's strength and determination, chose to follow in her footsteps by pursuing a career in mental health counseling. He excelled in his studies, earning a scholarship to attend a prestigious university. His passion for helping others, coupled with his unique perspective as an adoptee, made him an exceptional advocate and counselor. Years later, as Emma watched Samuel graduate from university with honors, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and pride. The journey they had taken together had been filled with challenges, but it had also been marked by love, growth, and triumph. The community center where they had first met continued to hold a special place in their hearts, and they remained actively involved in its programs and events. Under their guidance, the center expanded its services, offering support groups and resources for young mothers, adoptive families, and individuals struggling with mental health issues. Emma's story of perseverance, self-discovery, and forgiveness had become a beacon of hope for countless people. Her legacy lived on through the lives she had touched, the community she had served, and the unbreakable bond she shared with her son. As the years passed, Emma and Samuel's relationship continued to flourish, growing deeper and more meaningful with each shared experience. They had faced the past together, overcome obstacles, and forged a connection that few could understand. Together, they continued to serve their community, working tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of others. They traveled the world, speaking at conferences and events, sharing their story and inspiring countless individuals to face their own challenges with courage and hope. Through it all, Emma and Samuel remained a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. Their journey, filled with heartache and triumph, had brought them together and taught them the true meaning of family. In the end, they had found each other, and in doing so, they had found themselves. Did you like this story? Comment below what you think and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.